All right. How are we going to do this intro?
Well, I think we're going to do it the way that we always do it, like for 262 episodes where I'm first. Why would you change it?
Really?
This is, little guy, seriously, I know you've been away, but this is, come on.
I don't know.
It's a formula.
All right. Yeah.
It's formulaic.
Yeah.
Formulaic.
Okay, enough
That's
of
how
this.
it always goes.
Broccoli.
All right, start.
Broccoli. Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah, I'm all set.
You're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast. Fights, advice, and rumors straight from the source. TheSlowRidePodcast.com and on Twitter at TheSlowRidePod. Enjoy the ride.
Hello and welcome to the 262nd episode of the Slow Ride Podcast.
This is Spencer in Boston, Massachusetts.
Hey, this is Matt in Minneapolis.
I guess I'm third. I whatever, dudes. This is Tim in Orlando.
Hey, Tim in Orlando. Did you think you were going to be first on the podium?
I'm always
Kind of like
first.
a couple other people today, and then suddenly you weren't.
Yes, just like those people in Norway and at the Brink Bank Classic, little guy.
Do you feel like Tim Wellens? Do you feel like Barguil?
I feel just like Barguil. In fact, I think
Little guy.
I'm gonna.
I have an important question. Am I Gasparotto in this situation, little guy?
Well, I mean, Gasparotto didn't end up third on GC, but yeah, in a way, because you supposedly are the one that caused Timmy to miss out. So just like somehow Gasparotto ruined Barguil's race by flicking him, so he says.
Didn't follow the formula.
So do you guys think... I feel like Barguil's complaining, and maybe Gasparotto flicked him, but he should have known that it was a wrong wheel to be on, because was he in the Amstel Gold race today? No, he was not. So Gasparotto is not a wheel to be on.
I was gonna bring this up at some point in the pod, little guy, because I thought you would be excited that Gasparotto's name was in the press sometime out of the Ardennes week.
I had to do a little double checking just to make sure that maybe Barguil didn't just get him confused with another rider from Dimension Data, because, you know, you see so few of them these days. I'm sure even in the race that you maybe get confused which one it is. But yeah, strangely, he was toward the front end of a race, but obviously not the wheel to be on, because there's only one race when he's the wheel to be on, and that's Amstel Gold. Otherwise, go around him.
Must be a contract year.
Is this?
Yeah.
Is this the with Barguil losing and Lutsenko taking the win for Astana? By the way, the team that we would definitely one of the team cars we'd be in. Is this, do you think, his most important GC win of all time? Or do you think Tour of Oman was bigger?
God, I have no way to decide. I think more big guys go to Oman, but I would view Arctic Race in Norway as a better race.
Is the Arctic Race in Norway going to become one of the main tours, because with all the global warming and everything that's happening, that now it's just going to be always beautiful summer above the Arctic Circle?
Yeah,
probably.
So I was going to bring this up because this race, I watched some highlights of it, and it looks incredible. It looks amazing. The racing up in Norway just looks like you want cycling to be. I don't know what it is about European, like mainland cycling. It has sort of lost some of its charm. I don't know. Maybe it's too many roundabouts these days. I don't know what it is.
I didn't watch a ton of this. Is there a lot of climbing in this race? Tell me a little bit about this Arctic race. Other than Vanderpool cleaning up in that stage 1 sprint, which I loved. What else? Why else should I care about this race? What am I missing?
Yes, there's a lot of short, punchy, steep climbs. So it was a lot of up, down, up, down, up, down. There wasn't like huge epic, huge mountains, but there was 12% climbs, for a couple K. So it was fun racing. It was super fun racing.
Well, looking at it, I'm just kind of looking through the teams. It looks like a pretty good mix, kind of a lot of pro continental teams, right? You got Rally Racing, Israeli Cycling Academy. And then you also have Astana, Dimension Data, Jumbo.
Yeah, and you got, and even, I mean, I forget the guy who won today is on Marcus Holagard. He's on some team that's called Ex Norwegian Development Team. So even some smaller teams were winning stuff.
Well, let's give a quick shout out to our boy Ilnur Zakarin in 16th place in Norway. All right, so that was
Contract
good.
year.
That was good racing. Anything? We're going to talk a little bit about the Volta here in a little bit. Little guy, specifically with this race, the Arctic race of Norway. Any influences into you think the Volta coming around the corner? Because we're going to be talking about that.
I don't think so. I kind of feel like nobody there is going. Maybe. Mostly I think it's about World Championships because you got MVDP and you got like Lutsenko, who are probably both eyeing the World Championships.
I do want to. I mean, just Matthew van der Poel winning in such a fashion 1 week after dominating a mountain bike World Cup. I mean,
the bigger story
he could win
was
all
that
of the mountain. He could win all the World Championships right now.
Well, when he didn't win the second stage, Cycling News literally ran an article about him being a human. Like they had to run a story being like, "Can you believe Matthew van der Poel got beat in a sprint?"
I'm still
by a guy who we used to believe was like at least a B+, A- sprinter. So
yeah,
I'm still sitting here though looking at this, guys, and you're just like, he could be the 3-time world champ right now. Like he could go to Quebec, just fly in the day before. Just dominate on the mountain bike at Mount St. Anne, and then just fly back to Yorkshire in England, United Kingdom.
Nailed it.
As long as it's still the United Kingdom before,
I don't think it's getting Brexited out.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
I saw a tweet, and I have not verified these stats, but it's on Twitter, so it's probably true.
Yes.
Yeah, got it.
I saw this. I like this.
This
stat.
is the stats of Matthew van der Poel for 2019 in cyclocross. He's 12 for 12, 100% success rate.
Poor Wout.
in mountain bike, and I don't know what they're counting as mountain bike here, but it says 14 of 16 for 87.5% win rate.
Yep.
And on the road. After his victory in stage 1 at the Arctic race, which is when this stat came out, 7 for 16 attempts for 43.7% win rate.
That's not very
on
good.
the road.
Like 7 out of 16. It could be better.
Crazy. But one of those, then the next day he got second. He had some other close results.
Seconds don't count in this, but little guy, I don't know if you were doing the math there in your head, but that equals 33 total out of 44 possible chances to win for a astonishing 75% win rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, we might need to just head over to roller derby right now and just always put it on Matthew van der Poel because that's 75% collection rate. That is super impressive. Spencer.
What could the next closest rider be? Is probably at like...
It's Valverde, right?
There's probably
Valverde at like 3%.
Valverde.
I mean, there might be... So after the Bink Bank, Sam Bennett's probably at 30%.
Yeah,
because he won 3 of the 7. So, but after that, I mean, oh my God.
So let's stay above the. Let's stay in Scandinavia. Spencer.
Yes.
Last year, Marianne Voss absolutely wowed us with her bike handling, coming out of the corner at the Post Nord UCI Women's World Tour Vargarda West Sweden road race.
Yes,
I think I nailed that. By the way,
that race happened again today. I know you're referring to, our listeners have probably seen the GIF floating around on the internet of Marianne Voss just absolutely railing the final corner into the finishing straight at just speeds that should not be achievable and just dropping everyone on that corner and sprinting away to a clean victory, clean set of wheels for the entire peloton.
Yeah.
This year, today was the same day, or the same race. I didn't know much about that race. All I saw was that clip last year. I looked into this one a little bit more. That race has a bunch of gravel sections in it that they count down like Paris-Roubaix. This race is awesome. It's in Sweden. It's got gravel. It's got all the big hitters there. And once again, Marianne Voss led into that same corner. She roasted it at 1,000,000 miles an hour, let out the sprint, and got beat at the line.
By Maria Bassinelli.
Bastinelli. The Italian jersey looking crisp, looking good, looking how it should look. Roasted Mariana Voss at her trademark move. She tried to just do it again, you guys, and it didn't work.
It's like someone was studying.
Now, I'm wondering if Cycling News is going to run an article tomorrow about how she's human.
No,
they should.
That would require them to fully cover the sport
zing,
over the years.
burn,
They've done an
win.
okay job. They could do a lot better. I'll say that.
Yeah,
I won't totally throw them out. They at least send journalists to cover press conferences and things like that. So that
it's still a quality joke, but they do a better job than some other places. Let's put it that way.
That's the Scandinavian race. Wait.
Yeah.
And then we'll go to Belgium for the Bink Bank Tour. Sam Bennett, the Irish national champion, cleans up the first 3 stages of this race. Not too bad. But it's
not too bad at all.
Yellow Lotto, friend of the pod, one of our favorites, Lorenz Deplue, with the victory.
Big sneaky victory here on the last day. It was a hell of a last day. One thing I think that is super not funny about the last day is that GVA, the almost man of cycling again, after his brief moment of having wins for a year or two ago, got beat by Oliver Nason today in the sprint. And then when you check out the GC, I didn't realize he was so close. GVA 4th at 37 seconds on GC, 1 second behind Tim Wellens. So he both got pipped at the line for the stage and for the podium. So bit of a kick in the stomach there for him today.
Just a little, but he's still wearing the gold as the Olympic champion.
Yeah.
Zednik Stybar, Zednik Stybar in 15th place, just 5 seconds away from the golden number, won by Ruben Guerrero of Team Katusha, Portuguese rider, who gained 3 positions in the last day to get that coveted 16th place. Little guy, you're our expert right now. Any Vuelta impact on the Bink Bank Tour in Belgium? Anything we should care
over the
about?
Results? I don't think so. There's what I like about this race is it's a fun race. Well, it's just a fun race, but no GC guys in the GC.
Awesome.
That's I think if you want to throw like a good 4 to 5 day race in a country like Belgium, you want to make a race like this that doesn't no GC guys. It's all classics riders in the GC. It's awesome. So no, I don't think it has any bearing on the coming Volta.
All right, let's flip gears a little bit before we get into Volta. Let's talk briefly about Tour of Utah. There's definitely some of the Americans that are going to be heading over to the Volta were there. Trek Segafredo had a couple. And then we also got to talk about the situation, second week in a row of the old post-up without a victory. This one was Hayden McCormick of, I don't even know what team. But anyway.
Ouch. That's what happens, folks, when you post up too early. And then realize that not only do we barely remember your name, but we don't even remember what team you're on.
Yeah, I'll figure it
out.
out.
One eye and out the other, I guess. I don't know how
Team
that works,
Bridge Lane.
Yeah.
Now, he did get on the podium for most aggressive rider on that stage.
Yeah, that's a nice consolation.
That's a sympathy,
Now, Spencer, you pointed out to me that at the women's short track mountain bike race 2 weeks ago, we had a similar situation. And then Hayden McCormick has his unfortunate date with the devil of, kind of like the Zabel. But here's the difference, is that when Zabel posted up early, it was always like, it was right there. He knew right away that he messed up. Yep. These last 2 post-ups have happened with 1 lap to go. So the person gets over the line, they're tired, they're beat. They just laid it on. They can't believe that they sprinted away, especially, they're usually smaller teams. They're just like, oh man, I did it.
Yeah.
And then they get there and they get that moment of realization, maybe a little, and they don't want to believe it. What's the protocol? Do you just like grin and bear it? Do you stop the race? Do you just go off the back? Like what do you do here in this situation? Poor Hayden, he tried his best to he was on the radio, like trying to maybe place the blame. Like Frankie Andreou's coverage, he's like, oh, he's back on the radio. Maybe the team gave him the wrong count in the car. And you're like, I don't know.
Maybe.
The bell was really loud when he came across the line. The guy was there ringing the bell.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a protocol for this, Tim, but I think this sounds like a job for the Slow Ride podcast, that we can make that protocol right now, and hopefully people will share this information. So
with the pros,
so we can. Right. Yeah. So we can get this out there so that people know, if you post up early, maybe you can play it off. You've got your arms in the air and then, you clasp over the head and you start doing a stretch, the back, the back's going, I got to get back down in the drops now and keep going hard until you get around the corner, and then maybe you pull off and go back to the team bus.
That might be a good way to do it. I was going to try to play it off like, hey, wait, you guys don't do ninja preems around here? Right? Like
nobody knows about ninja preems except for
I know.
a handful of Minneapolis bike racers from 2000.
So basically ninja preem was awesome because at the local training crit, the promoters decided that if you were coming across the line first, when the guy dressed as a ninja with a guitar started shredding on the X and he'd play when you came across the line, you won whatever the preem was. Maybe a $5 gift certificate for chicken, various things.
There was no bell. You just win.
Yeah, you just
randomly. So
yes,
it was an encouragement to be on the front.
Yeah,
but not off the front by a lap posting up. So this is different.
Okay. Oh man, I just don't even know. I think you got to play it off with the stretch. I like that idea. Or you just turn around, and you just start riding backwards on the course and hope you get DQ'd. Just like
that's an option.
I
think you leave the arms up in victory long enough that the photographers have gotten the shot, because it's. It's a big race. You want that, like, you're gonna put that on the front of your sponsor proposal next year, regardless.
Oh, that's a good point.
Nobody's gonna follow.
That's actually a really good idea. It's a sponsor proposal.
And then you stretch it out. You start doing I'm getting ready to really start going hard now.
And then you win the second time around
for the crowd. And then you sprint around that corner until you're out of sight. And then I think then you can either pull over to the side or cry or go back to the bus or just take it from there. As long as you're out of sight, you're good to go.
Here's the thing, though. If you do it, you must finish on with the lead group. You know what I'm saying? Like if you do it,
such a big ask.
It's a big ask.
You gotta if you do it, you better finish with everybody else. You can't show up way the woman that did the short track. She was way behind. Anyways, I'm just.
Laid it all out there, man.
Hayden McCormick finished 4.5 minutes behind the pack.
So, here's the other option, right? You sprint, you quote unquote win, you realize you didn't win. Do you just then flop on the ground oh man, I gave it everything, just play it up, do you just own it and just be like, man, I destroyed myself? If that was the last lap, it wouldn't matter if everyone was there. I would have totally won anyway because I was that good.
So, I think we solved it. I think we did it.
Okay.
Yeah. Little guy.
Yeah.
Lachlan Morton. Tour of Utah. Winning stage 5. Looking good.
Mm-hmm.
After all that tip-to-tip riding in the UK. All by himself, right? On the gravel roads. Is gravel racing, gravel solo bike packing, is that the new training?
I mean, it seems to, I guess it's working for him. He also... He finished on the podium at Leadville last week. I think week before. I don't think we even talked about it.
I don't know. I'll have to check that. I know that it was a bunch of roadies there that didn't win.
I think he was third
because it was mountain biker won. But yeah,
it's working for him. He had a good race, but still, he didn't get the GC. Normal roadies did better in GC. Hermans and.
I will say though, with Lachlan Morton getting the victory. Our friend Hayden McCormick did get second place on stage 5, so he did have a couple of good days. But anyways, little guy, overall.
He had good.
That's a victory.
Anything of importance besides Joe Dombrowski winning the last stage of the Tour of Utah that play into the Vuelta? Anything we should care about?
I bet Dombrowski's going to do the Vuelta, so he'll be good in the third week. Maybe Lachlan will do it, so... I don't know. Probably nobody else from there's going to maybe Croddick.
Now, within the Education First team, we do know that friend of the pod, Mitch Docker, is going to be on the Vuelta team.
Mm-hmm.
And
nice.
I also want to say that I discovered today the Mitch Docker fan club on Instagram. So head on over to the Slow Ride Pod Instagram, and I basically did a repost of the Mitch Docker fan club documenting the road painting that they put all over the climbs, like the mirror and all the big climbs before the classics, that just said Mitch.
So good.
I don't know if you had a chance to see this, but this may be one of the coolest fan clubs I've seen because they look like pretty decent group of blokes. I don't know what you call them, but they all had custom Mitch fan club cycling caps. I really want one.
Sweet. I really want one too.
Did you see it?
Can we be can we be like
the American
asked
chapter
to be part of the club, or can we be the American chapter?
I'm curious. Like, I know there's a lot of fan clubs out there. We see the signs, we see the 2-pole banners that are up everywhere. Do you think Mitch would let us be in the fan club? Like, does he get a say of who's in the fan club? Does he not like the fan club? Or is he like, ooh?
Judging from the pictures, he looks. One of the pictures that makes him look like he didn't know maybe he had a fan club, and then suddenly they surrounded him with hats that said Mitch Docker fan club.
Yeah,
he looked pretty pleased, but also like, whoa, where'd this come from?
Is he like, ooh?
That's basically what we did to him here on the podcast.
Yeah,
and he was nice enough to not run away in fear.
Do you think the pros that have these fan clubs are like, oh, great? Like, some of them are just like, oh man, why'd I get stuck with these guys? They're basically just the fan club of, Roberto Heras, and now they just moved over to me. Oh man, I got the bottom of the barrel fans.
It's pretty cool to have a fan club.
This is cycling, yeah. I think they're probably pretty stoked.
I think you got to write that down. You got to have your agent list that. I think when you're shopping for new teams, you're like, last year was tough. He had the injury and all that, but he's got a 45 strong fan club that's pretty fanatic, and they will be your biggest fans, and they will buy your kit. So there's one tick, and he's back on track.
Well, guys, we are here. We are finally to the Vuelta, our favorite grand tour of them all.
Almost.
The little guy. Last year, the Vuelta was fantastic. We had a Simon Yates victory. Mm-hmm. What will we be seeing this time around? Are we going to be seeing... Because we're definitely not going to be seeing a repeat. So we're going to see a new winner. We don't have full start lists yet. But Caja Rural will definitely be winning a stage of some kind. We've talked about that.
And they've shown us that they're on some blistering form.
We know that Team Jumbo is definitely coming stacked with Kruijswijk, Gesink, and George Bennett. And also we have Tony Martin, who will be there to let the fists fly. So Team Jumbo will be looking good. We have Nairo Quintana, who just dropped an amazing interview on Cycling News, or quote, where he's like, I'm excited to ride for a team that will finally ride for me. Currently on the start list for the Vuelta, along with Richard Carapaz, the Giro winner.
Do you think they'll be riding for Nairo at the Vuelta? Or?
So if you look at this start list for Movistar, they've got Nairo, and you got his boy winner Anaconda, right? Yeah. Both are going to the new team.
Yeah.
And then you've got Valverde, who's got the 2-year contract, so he's ready to go off in the sunset. Just Shane riding away, and we're all going to be just yelling, Shane, don't go, when he finally leaves. You got Amador, who's classic domestique, top-notch Costa Rican rider. Yeah. Then you got Carapaz, JJ Rojas, and Sepulveda, the Argentinian rider. So I'll just assume South America, like, who does he go with? The Ecuadorian, or does he go with the Colombian? But then the Ecuadorian maybe is going to Team Sky? Ineos? So much drama on this team. It is amazing.
So much drama on the team.
Buy or sell Movistar winning the team classification at the Vuelta.
That's historically just a strong buy every single year at every single tour, no matter what. And this time, I think I got to sell.
Really? No. I would think that this would actually be
I'm still gonna buy.
Time to buy, because you're going to have 3 guys no matter what every stage that are just going to be attacking to beat the other one.
Yeah, it's not going to work out.
I don't know. I think I'd buy. I think they will be there, but I hope they get it together and lose the team comp and just pick a leader and ride a better race. Obviously, when they rode for one person at the Giro, it worked.
So we have Kyle Reinen and Peter Stetina and TJ Van Garderen representing the U.S. over in the Vuelta so far. Guys, anything of reason outside of Movistar and Team Jumbo as who's going to win this thing?
A little man named Sosa.
Who is this guy?
On form. He's another of the Androni, dudes that our little white-haired, mustachioed Andronio Giocattoli Cidermark guy finds and signs to huge contracts and then gets bought out. And he's on, Ineos now. And I was like a little bit down on him this year. I kind of thought they were playing him up too big, but then he just crushed it at the Volta Burgos and beat all the other big GC guys pretty handily. So I don't know, man. Somebody new's got to win. So
it's a little guy. 3 past winners are in the Volta this year. Alejandro Valverde, okay. Nairo Quintana, and Fabio Aru.
Yep, and they're all past their sell-by date, winning the Volta again as well. So none of them are going to win. Let's just say that right now.
Okay, these are the remaining individuals that have been on the podium at the Volta that are showing up. Esteban Chavez?
Yeah, who knows what's going on.
Okay.
He's been
Miguel Angel Lopez?
He could win.
Okay. Rafa Micah?
Also seems like he's a little bit past his prime, but maybe it's time to get it back.
You think that this could be the Vuelta of Wilco Kelderman?
Man, I want it to be.
You always wanted to be.
He had a rough year, He had a bunch of injuries this year, so I'm hoping maybe he's just finally ridden into some form. Though I haven't seen any results of that or any proof of that.
And apologies, Ben King of the U.S. is also on the start list. So anyway, I'm pretty excited for the Volta just because of
Carapaz is going though, Timmy. And so
I'm excited for the Movistar Madness. Like if there's one last Grand Tour before the band breaks up, this could be it, right? This could be This could be it, and I'm stoked about it. Like this could be some fireworks and a Grand Tour victory, because someone's going to want to win to get the better contract. Carapaz could be sitting there going like, I am never going to get to ride for the GC ever again. This could be my opportunity. And then Nairo's like,
That's a good point.
I got my boys. I'm going to be over here on this French team, getting a guaranteed start at the Tour every year.
If Carapaz wins the Giro this year, wins the Volta, then goes to Ineos and is like down the pecking order somehow.
Well, he would be.
That would just be. He's already won a Grand Tour. That's
so
crazy.
He's already better than Landa, other Movistar rider, because he's won the Grand Tour. But he's basically pulling the Landa of just going to where the money is and not being the main guy.
Tim, what about your buddy Mentis? He's going.
I was really stoked.
I've heard that Dimension Data is a Pro Tour team.
I was very stoked to see Mentis on the start list, and I hope that he does fantastic.
He just finished 22nd, 7 minutes down at Burgos, so still building to form.
He could be there. Did you guys also see that the Arctic Tour of Norway was the last race of Sven Tuft's career? Did I see that right? Or like, I know he gave the tour that he was retiring, and I apologize. I know I may have been mixing it, but
I thought he would go out in Canada at the Canadian one-day races like a Canadian.
Maybe I did. Like the article, a lot of it was like, "Hey, I'm going to get into bike packing and doing gravel riding tours," and I was like, "Oh, I'd totally go on those tours."
So you think he finished the race, hooked up a trailer, and then just rode over the Arctic Circle back to Canada?
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
I'm Joe Dombrowski from Cannondale Drop Pack, and you are listening to the Slow Ride Podcast.
This podcast is brought to you by Health IQ. Head on over to healthiq.com/WAP to find out more on how to save money on your life insurance. Health IQ takes information that you provide, proving that you are an active, healthy individual, and it saves you money on your life insurance. Check it out over at healthiq.com/WAP.
Nailed it.
Good. Yeah.
Crush it. They're continuing to support it. After a while, because they've been here for so long, you kind of just get into the flow, guys.
Absolutely crushed it. The Slow Ride Podcast also brought to you this week by our good friends over at Grimpeur Bros Coffee. They make some fantastic coffee beans over there. All kinds of coffee beans, but there are two particular coffee beans that we like the best because they support this podcast and the Wide Angle Podium Network. And those ones are the Full Schleck and Cyclocross Friends. Cyclocross Friends is an espresso blend. It is delicious. You can make it in your regular old coffee machine at home. If you like a darker blend, you're going to love it. And the Full Schleck, a little lighter for getting you up those mountains. You switch onto the lighter blend when you need that little extra pep in your step. Check out the Full Schleck. Both of them delicious. Both available now. Roasted fresh once a week and shipped out to you by Grimpeur Bros. You can find those over at wideanglepodium.com/coffee.
All right. We'd also like to thank the listeners and supporters of the Wide Angle Podium Network. Head on over to wideanglepodium.com to see the whole selection of shows and where you can also become a supporting member of the pod. You get some great bonus content. You also get the ability to choose where your money goes. If you ever wanted to buy one of us a beer, it'd be a great opportunity to do that. You can also support Roller Derby, the almost certainly the greatest fantasy cycling game on the internet. You can also support what Mitch Docker's doing with the Life in the Peloton, which he had another wonderful episode of Michael Freeberg. And I was thinking the entire time that little guy should be listening to that episode because he talks so much about like the different types of training methods. And I loved his story about the different crank lengths. And then
I liked
they called him up like, hey, we need points to get a spot in the Olympics. And then it's like, oh man, you're going to the crazy guy with the extra long crank lengths. So,
I liked it. It felt like Mitch was interviewing a more talented version of myself.
Yeah, it was awesome. Also,
it was like he had a lot of goofy approaches to things. Maybe I haven't been quite as goofy, but also obviously don't have the talent or the drive that he has because he's a much better biker than me. So it's super interesting, but it was like, man, I like this guy. He's a weirdo.
It was a full week over at the Wide Angle Podium. Also, Bike Shop CX did a great viewer emails or listener emails and talked a lot about glue and tubulars again. I got the buzz just listening to all that glue talk. Rebecca Gross was over on the gravel lot. Can't wait to hang out with those guys out at the Trek World Cup in Madison. So if anybody's coming up, we're going to have a full tent compound. You can stop by, meet the hosts of the different shows, hang out, take some photos. We got some great ideas. We're going to have a little bit of merch. We're going to be doing some live interviews.
Bring by your Slow Ride Podcast fan club cycling caps that you had made, and we will sign them for you or whatever you need.
Yeah, definitely.
For the Slow Ride Podcast fan club, for sure. And then the final one I want to bring up. Today, I was grocery shopping, guys. I had my earbuds in when I was grocery shopping. I was in the zone. I was just going. I was like going between the organic bananas and the regular bananas, just kind of getting some peaches. Oranges are out of season, and I was just like really getting into it. And because the whole time I was listening to the new Cyclocross Radio episode with Scott Herman, and Bill did a whole new kind of format for it this week, and it was great. Scott Herman had his these are the 5 things I want to talk about cyclocross, and then they just riffed off it. It was fantastic. If you haven't listened to Cyclocross Radio in a little while, jump back in. Bill does a great job. He's got an awesome radio voice, and he's basically the documentarian of cyclocross in the U.S. at this point, and also mountain biking in the U.S. So check it out. And finally, one of the other things I wanted to point out is please find us on social media. You can head on over to the Slow Ride Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and you can also go to Facebook where we have the Slow Ride Podcast official fan experience zone.
Yeah.
So
one of the biggest things you can do for the show is sharing it for other people to find because we see the numbers. So we know you're out there. We appreciate every single one of you, but we also appreciate your friends who aren't listening yet.
This is a pretty good story. So last Johnny Hanel, one of our friends of the podcast, lives up in Michigan, learned about the pod from our Twitter account because someone had retweeted one of our inane comments on something.
Amazing commentary
and
on
then
something. Yes.
I was in Michigan for work last week, and then Johnny's like, "Hey, I got tickets to Smashing Pumpkins," and I absolutely crushed it, guys. It was awesome. I looked the part. I wore a black T-shirt. It was the 2013 Louisville World Cyclocross Championships kit. I thought that was a good way to kind of get back into the world.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, Billy Corgan, real commitment to the bit there after all these years. Still doing it.
Yep. That's true.
So Johnny, friend of the pod, thanks for the support. And
that's amazing.
Guys, let's get back to the show.
This is Abby Mickey from Rally UHC Professional Cycling Team, and you're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast.
Dreams so come true. 5 stars from Allie C. Dreams do come true. Little guy is back on the pod. Aww. Was it all a ruse to have little Matt retire only to come out of retirement? Who cares? It worked. I donated a Wide Angle Podium for the first time in an attempt to crowdfund, making it worthwhile for all of you to keep making the magic happen. Feel free to take little breaks as needed to refresh, but honestly, hope you all never tire of podcasting every week. 5 stars. Allie, boom. Thank you. Was this review helpful? Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, that was helpful. Thank you. Thanks for.
It's good to have you back, nice. Little guy, but I do think that we do need to talk a little bit about this. And the reason why I bring this up, little guy, were you funneling your 2015, 2014 Lance Armstrong with your comeback here? Like, what was the deal?
Yeah, I'm always doing that.
He's like, if Lance could do it, and it worked so well for him.
Yeah, I figured that I'd come back. Well, I got cocky.
I guess it was 2011.
I heard that somebody else had podcasted, and I was like, I'm better than them. F them. And so I came back.
Yeah,
and I didn't think about the fact that I've been cheating on every podcast, and they haven't been. So maybe that's why I was beating them. But anyway, I'm back, and I'm better than ever, and I'm manipulating my blood profile right now.
I was just gonna say the best part is you're still cheating, so it's gonna be fine.
Yep. My blood values will not change for the entire time of this podcast.
Amazing.
Post-race interview helmet protocol. Hey, y'all. I watched today's highlights of the Arctic Race of Norway to get yet another look of a sweet salmon podium prizes. Duh. By the way, did you guys saw this? I'm sure. The King of the Mountain gets the giant salmon podium accoutrement.
It's great. I like it.
People are stepping up their games. I'm starting to like this. Podium bucket was just the start, little guy. When you started with the podium bucket.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you can put a salmon in a bucket pretty easy.
And as I saw the sweet salmon podium prizes, I noticed the stage winner, Brian Cocard, Vidal Concept B&B Hotels, never heard of this hotel chain, by the way, kept his helmet on, but unstrapped during his post-race interview. So what say you? For post-race interviews, helmet on, helmet off? If on, strapped or unstrapped? If off, a cycling cap with proper luft or straight-up helmet hair, assuming you have hair? Flipped bill? Interested in some hot takes and some shade. Brian Hancock of the Alma GP. And once again, the 16th podium prize for the Alma GP that Brian Hancock put together was like a hotel room. And we were going to give it to Ruby Roubaix, who is a criminal. He can't come to the U.S. And then Doug Kniper. We said Doug should win it, but Doug lives there and Doug doesn't need to stay in a hotel. So I think that they should just take that money that they were going to put into the hotel and just put it on Doug's beer tab at the Alma Brewing, which is the sponsor of the Avalon Pontoons Alma GP, which is happening in September here. So that being said, guys, helmet protocol post-race.
Yeah. So I imagine you guys have some hot takes. Probably Tim has the hottest takes. I'm going to guess out of all these.
Okay.
I'm going to go out on a limb right now and just say you're both wrong. I don't even know what you're going to say.
So
But it's going to be incorrect.
I would say that you can keep the helmet. You take the helmet off, especially if you have the helmet hair with like your hair is coming out where the ventilation was on the helmet.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the immediate pre-podium, post-race interviews. Right? Like, now I will say this. If we can ever find someone that gets up on the podium in a pro race with their helmet on, I would be really into that.
Really?
And
why?
Because when has it been done before at that top level, like World Tour race?
Let's see.
So supposedly, we know for a fact, we've heard stories that the helmet sponsorship is one of the most expensive sponsorships that goes into a pro tour team, right? Because it's so visible.
Yep.
Why don't these teams say, like, mandate you're wearing our helmet when you're on the podium. What better way to get your podium? It's not a podium bike. It's not taken away from anything. It could be a little dangerous up there. You're a couple feet high. You never know what's going to happen. I'm surprised that they don't. If I was a helmet company, I would write that into the contract. Nope.
A couple feet high if you're first or second, Tim. Third place, I don't know if he needs a
Third
helmet.
place.
So, you had me going there. I was on board with what you're saying. I was kind of impressed. And then you started with the podium helmet thing, and you completely lost me. So I do feel confident again in my assertion that you were going to be wrong with your opinion. Little guy, I assume, is going to say proper luft is all that there should be, and probably people shouldn't even be a debate because they shouldn't be racing in helmets anyway. And that's taken away from the beauty of the sport.
Kind of,
yada,
yeah.
Yada.
Sort of, yeah.
But really, the helmet on for racing, the helmet off for anything else, including media. It should come off immediately upon, stopping. Congratulate your teammates after a victory or whatever. Take it off. Throw it over the bars. Roll around to the swan ears, whatever. Just let that helmet hair fly. Let it go. Let it flow. Encourage that. We need to bring back that sort of
Can I
aesthetic.
tell you what one of my favorite things to do is? When you roll up somewhere and you have your helmet latched around your stem.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of is like perfectly there between that cradle between your two handlebars. Now you couldn't do this on the Canyon double decker bike. I don't think that'd be a little awkward to try to do that on the duplex, but I'm kind of, I just love that look and that roll around. So pretty cool. Brian, again, thanks for the email. Thanks for the support. Guys,
what's beautiful about that scene you just described, Tim, is that it used to be when we were coming up, that was reserved only for campy cyclists. That's why it was so cool. Because you could only do it with campy, because Shimano had the cables coming across and SRAM didn't even exist.
Yeah,
that's true.
So you could not, it was the epitome of cool to just sort of, hang it from the back of your stem, like over the,
because then you could instantly tell who was on
drape.
campy or Shimano.
Yeah. And now I'm glad that it's carried on. It's still a cool look. But everybody can enjoy, and we don't have to spend twice as much money for negligible amount of better quality.
Hey guys, long-time listener, first-time emailer. I really enjoyed episode 261. As usual, you guys are spot on and hilarious. However, I think Tim really buried the lead when he started talking about his days at UPS. I worked with Tim at Big Brown in Minneapolis when he was still a bike neophyte. There's
Amazing.
So much more to the story that he has left out. Perhaps Little Guy and Spencer and I could do a Tim's UPS top corner shenanigans piece and let people have a clear picture of what Tim was really like at work.
Good.
He is an almost legendary on the shop floor to this very day. Keep up the good work. Helps me get through Tuesday nights at UPS. John Senham. Big fan of the pod. John, thanks for all your support to the Wide Angle Podium Network. And guys, I got to admit, my days at UPS were very impressive. You guys saw like a little bit of the tail end of it. When I was still there, but good times.
Huh. I don't know. I kind of find it hard to believe. I mean, nobody remembers you downtown anymore. From your career days.
Yeah, I know. Do they still know who you are, Little Guy, there at downtown? Like,
Probably
you're still
not.
working as a career.
I'm like anonymous. I just sort of keep to myself.
Yeah, like I mean, we used to run that. We used to crush it.
Yeah, we ran that town.
Before it went all.
I find it hard to believe that UPS Tim was this crazy, because I remember UPS Tim slightly overlapped with Bike Courier Tim.
Yes.
Am I correct? Yep. I remember early Bike Courier Tim telling me about how he was riding on the train tracks, like with the train tracks, and he like fell in the train track and crashed right before they put the trains on. And I was thinking, this guy, what's wrong with this guy? Why would you do that?
I was just trying to get my bike handling together, riding on the rail.
Trying to. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Just totally mistook what training was. I thought he had to go to the actual train.
All right, I got a train. I'm going to put on this chamois and I'm going to ride down this train track as long as I can.
I do remember when I worked at UPS, I loved seeing the Cannondale boxes that would come through UPS, and I treated them with extra care because they had a Seiko logo on the side of it.
Oh.
And so I was like,
you gotta show respect.
I was like, I gotta show respect.
Is
That's
due.
the team. That's the team right there. Yep. All about that. Good times. And John, thanks again for your email. And the final one comes to us from James Ebby. Hey guys, not so long time listener, first time emailer here. Only 3 stages in the Tour of Utah, and I'd like to comment on the commentary. You guys thought Phil Liggett and Bob Roll were bad. Well, Bob Soner and Frankie Andreu are worse. I gotta say, I disagree with that, James. I think they're an upgrade on Bob Roll and Phil Liggett. Consistently mixing up riders and talking about the weirdest things. Just wondering if you have been watching and felt the same way about the commentary. One of your very few Arizonian listeners. I would say this, that I mix up people all the time. And you're listening to this, where we just spent 5 minutes talking about Minneapolis Courier days. So we also talk about weird stuff to keep you entertained. So it could be a lot worse. But as a caveat,
It could be.
do you remember Frankie Andreu on Versus or Outdoor Life Network when he had the unenviable task of interviewing the man who ruined his professional cycling career, Lance Armstrong? I do, and I thought Frankie did a damn good job. So,
I can't believe he didn't just punch Lance one time on camera.
hey,
Like, that's the way to quit your job. Live national television, boom.
right before
You
the
deck
tour,
America's hero at that point.
Yeah. So
Missed opportunity.
I haven't been watching the Tour of Utah commentary or stages or anything, so I'm not sure the quality. But Frankie should know what he's doing, and Brad definitely knows what he's
Brad's
doing.
good.
He's kind of he's got the voice for sure. He's definitely the voice of crits in the U.S. I don't know if road racing is much different, or I guess the thing about it is you got a lot of time to fill, right?
Yeah, and it's Utah.
I mean, I was just going to say, as far as I know, not a lot of chateaus and things to talk about in Utah as the helicopter's driving along. So, yeah, I could see that being pretty brutal, both from working it side and from trying to enjoy it on the viewership side. So
I didn't even think about that. The no historical, just little camera shots to really fill the time. I've never really thought about that, but that must fill at least 15% at the tour and the Giro and stuff. Those quick little shots. And what do you do?
I mean, even if you wanted to talk about Utah and the history and things like that, like, they probably wouldn't want you to.
It'd be like, and there's the McLean settlement over there. In 1994, an armed standoff between militant white supremacist separatists and the FBI resulted in 15 dead.
Ooh,
and on your left, you'll see the former cattle wrestler Steve Smith's house. He was shot dead by 15 U.S. Marshals in 1914.
And that right there, this is the welcome to the downtown Provo criterium, where our city blocks are about a mile long because that's how they were prescribed to be built back in the day. I love city planning jokes about Salt Lake City.
Take it, Utah. Wow, Utah, really throwing Utah.
No, I went to Utah. I like going to Utah.
No.
Park City's awesome.
Yeah.
Real Salt Lake,
It's
awesome
pretty.
soccer team. I remember when I got to Utah, though, I was downtown, and it was like, I was at like 300 whatever street. And then it was like, oh yeah, I just got to go up to 400. So I parked my car. It was a really long walk. Their blocks are really long.
You got that's what I think would be tough about calling a crit in Utah, would be being like, okay, and there's a 4-corner crit, so they're going to go down to 400 south, 100 north, and take a left up to 200 south, 400 east, and then they're going to take another left on 200.
Spencer knows what I'm talking about. It's crazy.
It's brutal.
And it's all the numbered
Tim,
streets.
You're a St. Paul man, where each like 100 numbers encompasses between 5 and 37 blocks.
Yeah.
Nobody actually knows.
Yeah.
It's just sort of randomly spewed out there.
Yeah, right. That was the great Jesse Ventura appearance on David Letterman when he was talking about the drunk, the drunk city planning of St. Paul. Like, there's no rhyme or reason at all. Whereas, like, you at least go to Minneapolis and it's somewhat gridded and you kind of get it.
Minneapolis is very orderly in comparison to St. Paul.
Yeah. So anyway,
that's our claim to fame.
that's our urban planning corner on the Slow Ride podcast. Always enjoyable.
Well, add another corner to the Slow Ride podcast shape.
Hey guys,
whatever it is now.
Yeah.
I want to get into something here. I was thinking about this. We always go to Pro Cycling Stats, probably one of our favorite websites that we've been to.
Mm-hmm.
And look, you were talking a little bit earlier about Gimondi passing, right?
Yep.
Well, Grand Tour winner, all 3 Grand Tours, takes the victories, and about his last entry into the Pro Cycling Stats website.
Yep. It's a race I can't pronounce. It's in 1978, in August 1978, and it's the Châteauroux Classique des Indre Trophy Finu. But he got second.
Crushed it.
But yeah, like we were saying, it's kind of weird that that's what your Pro Cycling Stats just stops and it only pulls up on your last race. So for most people, it's like, don't really have the form anymore. I got 157th. And then, it doesn't really represent you as a rider.
Like the Sven Tuff one is going to show a lot of, races near the end of his career where he was the true domestique, shepherding along all these riders, and not the fact that he is a silver medalist at the Olympics or won the Richmond, Virginia U.S. Open Cup in 2005 when he was on Symmetrics. Lots of cool things, right? So this got me to thinking about this, like, kind of what you are is your Pro Cycling Stats page, and you land on it. Gentlemen, Mario Cipollini.
What's his?
Arguably one of the greatest of all time. 42-time stage winner. Little guy. What do you think his last appearance is? Spencer, what do you think his last appearance is on the Mario Cipollini page?
I have a guess. I'm going to guess stage 3, Tour of California, 2007?
Is that the comeback?
Yeah. That's my guess.
Okay.
I think he dropped out in the middle and never
what do you
raced
got,
again.
little guy?
That's my guess.
Yeah, I guess whatever stage was that comeback.
So I was thinking that it was going to be the Las Vegas crit, the Wheelers and Dealers crit at Interbike in 2000, like kind of that middle 2000 era when didn't he get crashed out?
I have no idea.
I remember that being a big deal that he showed up that year. So I was wrong. Spencer, you're somewhat close. 2008, Mario Cipollini came out of retirement 3 years after retirement, after retiring with Liquigas for Rock Racing, the Continental team.
Yeah.
Showed up at the Tour of California. He got 44th in the prologue. He got 86th in stage 1. He got 3rd in stage 2 in Sacramento. Then he has a bunch. He has a couple 10th place finishes. He did finish the race though. He got 10th place in Pasadena on the last day. He finished the race in 58th place. So Mario Cipollini's last race where he did well was stage 2 of the 2008 Tour of California. He got 3rd place. He beat Mark Cavendish, who got 4th place. Who do you think beat Mario Cipollini in arguably his last moment of sunshine? Like the Rock Racing, was going all in on this. Like he was full gas. Rock Racing, like they emptied out the refrigerator. They got Kaylee Leo Grand to come over and just like pump them all full of it. Like we knew this was the race. Who do you think beat him?
God, just guessing. It's in America, so Brad Huff beat him.
Nope.
And I don't know.
Nope. Tyler Farrar, top place American, was in 6th place.
Whoa, Tyler.
You got to think back to 2008, little guy. What team in 2008 was about to go down in flames from their own doping scandal? Mind me, I'm just going to drink some water.
Oh, Gerolsteiner, nice. Who could sprint on Gerolsteiner?
Oh, have you forgotten about
Forrester
2nd place finisher Heinrich Hausler?
Oh, Barbie. Dang.
So Hausler gets 2nd. Tom Boonen took the victory on stage 2. Tom Boonen
Beautiful.
beat Cipollini on Cipollini's final swan song.
Well, that's not a bad way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could be worse. Oh,
I mean, it could be a lot worse.
So good, guys. Listen to the teams that were at this Tour of California. This is the quality Tour California used to be. You have Mario Cipollini for Rock Racing. Gerolsteiner was their Quick Step. Team Columbia. It's Columbia High Road, right? And then you have CSC Pro Team. Kodak Gallery Pro Cycling Team with Dominic Rowland. Remember them? Oh.
Yeah.
Kelly Benefits, Health Net presented by Maxis, and then you had Bissell Pro Cycling. Bissell, the Bissell team.
Bissell.
I kind of like their kits too. They had that weird like graphite to red combo.
Really? I never really liked their kits. But
I'm sure Jello Belly was in the tour this year. Oh yeah, there they were. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were there for about 100 years. Yeah.
Anyway, there you go. 2008 Tour of California. Back when the Tour of California didn't try to take on the greatest Grand Tour of them all, the Giro, and I cared a little bit more about it.
Yeah. It was just a training race. Those are better times.
Well, guys, I rode a little bit of mountain bikes this morning. I was feeling good. I dusted off the baggies. I went out. I drove 40 minutes to ride a 5-mile loop because there isn't any real mountain biking close to Orlando, but damn, did it feel good.
Okay.
That's sad.
It is a little sad, but
it's a little sad. I mean, I'm glad you got to go ride the bike, but me and Spencer both who could very easily ride two pretty serious mountain biking from our house. We feel sorry for you.
I had some fun. Slayed it, I think you would say. I didn't crash. I didn't bleed all over the place. That's also good.
That's called slaying it.
I had so much fun riding mountain bikes. And it was like, oh man, I miss riding mountain bikes and the ability to ride out my front door. So if you're listening to the Slow Ride podcast
Tim,
and you have the ability to like get to quality mountain bike trails within 10-minute drive or 15, 20-minute bike ride, and you're not doing it once a week, I'm very disappointed in you.
Oh man, Tim's wagging his finger at you.
Yeah.
Now, where did this nostalgia come from, Tim? Does it have something to do with the fact that only 1 year ago we had our great Schwamigan mountain bike challenge?
I was thinking about that today because I was riding my single speed rigid mountain bike that remember,
and realizing
I didn't even use it for the race, and it was the rigid mountain bike that then I got, and then I go pick it up at Chuck at Behind Bars in Minneapolis, and that's when I discovered that there's this new thing called a boost fork. Basically, the bike industry decided, that old wheel hub spacing that worked totally fine and had no problems for all those years. That was fantastic. Well, you need a new fork. And, you also need a new hub size because there's about a 10 millimeter difference between boost and non-boost. And now it's the new industry standard. Yep. And that's also why I hate mountain biking, because I was like, so now I have a fork with a hub that doesn't match it. So I have these weird washers that I can't lose if I have to take the wheel off.
Yep.
It sucks.
Tough, man. You should stick with 26. Or just build a weird bike out of scraps and race that at Chihuahua.
But I actually really enjoyed riding rigid on my single speed. I could climb those hills so fast. I mean, the Florida hills. But, I was crushing it.
Florida hills, yeah. I bet you were. Cool.
I do also, I'm really into seeing what people wear a lot more than bikes. There was this one crew of riders that came by us, though. There's about 10 of them, like, nose to tail, just, like, riding along. Every one of them had a bike that was at least like $5,000 to $7,000. Like I couldn't believe, like Santa Cruz's pivots, evils, like so many. I was like looking at them, just like, there's a lot of money right there. And that, like, I've never seen that much money being used in, like, I was like $70,000 worth of bike, just cruising by, and I'm like, oh, I love my aluminum mountain bike. Don't look at my
So is
bike.
taking a $5,000 to $10,000 full suspension mountain bike out in Florida kind of like driving your supercar to downtown Wayzata just to get a burger? Just kind of using way too much for the purpose?
A lot of these were cross country bikes. I mean, some of them you'll see that are totally, the all mountain bike with like a 150 suspension and all that, like kind of crazy, totally jacked back. But I think it's just mostly people are riding. Now, I got to say this, like the trail I went to is halfway to Santos. So there's really good mountain biking up in Santos, like 100 miles of single track that are fantastic. It's an IMBA ride center place. So, great trails. This is kind of the outlier between Orlando and there. So, there's a lot of people that live.
Where is it?
By.
Santos?
Santos is the big one. That's the main one. Then there's a really good ride center down in Tampa called Alafaya. And come the winter months, like January, February, a lot of people from the north come down. It's some of the best riding. Chuck from Minneapolis was just down here last February for Santos as well, riding. I mean, it's great. So I highly recommend going down, but it's a drive from Orlando, which kind of sucks.
Halfway to Santos sounds like some sort of phrase. You'd be like, oh man, that dude, he's halfway to Santos. That guy.
Well, anyway. So little guy, in closing.
Yeah. In closing.
This reminiscence of me slaying you guys at Schwamigan, of me crushing you guys. How's the bike, little guy? Did you fix that bike yet?
The bike's good. I rode it on Wednesday at the last Wednesday night mountain bike race.
You showed
here.
up to the real night with your vintage bike, and they're like, "Oh, that was last week, little guy."
Yeah, I gotta say I brought the Schwamigan bike to the mountain bike race, and it was way more fun, and I felt much faster on it than I did on my actual mountain bike. But
how'd you do?
Being lazy, I didn't want to change a tire on a wheel, so I just grabbed one of my cross tubular wheels with the file tread on it and threw that on the rear. So I had the giant 29er tire in the front, and then I had a little 700 by 33 file tread on the rear. And so you'd be super surprised to realize that I flatted halfway through the race.
Let me ask, look at how many rear flat tires do you now have in your collection?
I have almost all of them. I have 5 bikes, I think. I have five bikes that would take a 700C, and I have 1 wheel.
So you have 5
currently.
bikes with 5 flat tires, and you have 1.
I have like 6 flat tires because I have like extra cross wheels. Maybe I have 7. I have extra cross wheels, and they're all flat, or like the sidewalls are basically blown, and it maybe would hold air, but I'd be scared to go around.
So you can't even say like,
it.
"Oh, I'm stretching them. I'm stretching these tubes."
No, they all need to be re-glued at this point. Or they're just wheels are broken. I literally have 1 wheel for all my bikes. I have all these bikes with front wheels hanging in my basement, and I've got 1 wheel that I've got to move around that I was too lazy to change the tire for the other day, but now that's the only thing I'm in. So that's my weird bike thing. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
it's kind of sad.
I don't have any parts that go between bikes. Maybe like a saddlebag every now and then, but even now I've gotten enough saddlebags that I'm, you know what I mean? Like I'm kind of...
Tim, you're so pro.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. Water bottles.
You don't have to do like... Whenever I have to go for a ride, Caitlin's like, "Are you going to go for a ride?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to get out. I'm going to get out right now." And that means I initially have to go in the basement for at least 30 minutes, either pedals, wheels, saddlebags, maybe a bottle cage. Something will have to be swapped because every bike is in some permanent state of slight disrepair at this point.
Classic late summer, stretch here of all the bikes.
Just limping.
And you're gonna refresh them soon because Cross is right around the corner, little guy, and they're gonna make it just through the end of Cross season, just barely by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah,
because you're only gonna do what's absolutely necessary
it.
to get them to that point.
Yeah,
and then you can lay them to rest until maybe the night before your first spring ride with the team or something.
Just make sure you wash your bike after the last race of the season.
That's
that will never
critical.
Happen.
I came pretty close in spring from stealing the brake pads off both my cross bikes so I could make my work bike work, and I resisted the urge and just sort of rode an even jankier bike for work for a day so I could go get brake pads because otherwise I would have never got to fix that, and I wouldn't even have the one cross bike to ride right now. So it's tough, man. I'm sure, Spencer, you've been in this boat. I've seen your bike collection. It usually involves some weird thing. At least your kits are all in a ball on the floor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We've all been there. This is This is a classic collegiate lifestyle that we're all still living.
Without the student loans, it's great.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, it was another successful episode of the Slow Ride Podcast. We'd like to thank all of our listeners and supporters that head over to wideanglepodium.com for their support. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the Slow Ride Pod. Check us out on Facebook, also the Slow Ride Podcast official fan Super Zone Experience area. We'd also like to thank healthiq.com/WAP. Find out on how you can save money on your life insurance. And our friends at Grimpeur Bros. Head over to wideanglepodium.com/coffee or look for the Grimpeur Brothers logo on the sidebar. And you can find out how to get your very own pound of coffee, either the full Schleck or the Hello Cyclocross Friends espresso blend. And with that, this is always first place, Tim in Orlando, Florida.
This is always second place, Matt, Minneapolis.
And this is Spencer in Boston, bringing up the rear as usual, and reminding you to always wave at all your fellow cyclists that you see out on the road.
The Slow Ride Podcast. Bikes, advice, and rumors straight from the source. TheSlowRidePodcast.com and on Twitter at TheSlowRidePod.